Hi everyone, Megan here, and today I am so excited to finally tell you the big secret that I've been keeping from all of you that you didn't even know I was keeping. Kate Howe, a wonderful YouTuber who I absolutely love and have been following for a while now, she had a most brilliant idea of doing a year-long read-along of Louisa May Alcott's works, and she asked me to co-host with her. So I was so honored by that request. Thank you so much, Kate. We are doing it! We are doing it! And I'm very dramatic this evening, apparently. So, this will be nearly a year of reading Louisa May Alcott. We're calling it A Year of Louisa May. Check out the hashtag Louisa May 2020. So I have always loved Louisa May Alcott. Pretty much, I don't really remember being introduced to her except my mom reading the abridged version of Little Women to me when I was like a little kid, and me being very upset by one certain event, which if you know the book, you will know. I cried. I asked my mom how she could read this book to me that had such a heartbreaking thing in it, and of course I'm very grateful to her today for introducing me to it. So a couple years ago, I was very completionist in the way I viewed some of my favorite authors, Louisa May Alcott being one of them. So I set out to read all of her works. This included novels, novellas, short stories, articles, poems written under her name, anonymously, and under other names like J.M. Barnard. And I pretty much accomplished my goal. There might be like one or two like little pieces that I haven't read, but that's, you know, a little hard to get a hold of. So I think there may be one title on this list that I haven't read, so that'll be a fun adventure, but all the other ones will be so much fun to reread. So I really hope that you will all join Kate and I on this adventure. Now, if you are hesitant about Louisa May Alcott, you know, if you've heard that Little Women is sickly sweet, let me just give you a bit of context. So, Louisa May Alcott lived with her mother, father, and her sisters, just like Jo March. And her father was a little different from Mr. March, though. He had very interesting philosophical ideas. He was quite famous at the time, and he believed that capitalism was a bad thing and that people should not work to earn their living. So he did not work, which meant that Louisa and her sisters and mother were often literally starving. So Louisa went out and worked in many different areas, and one of them was writing. So she was working for money to provide for her family. Now, the thing is that what publishers wanted to buy from her was moral stories with lessons for children. So that's what she wrote, because that's where she could get the money from. But that's not where her passion was. Her passion was for sensational stories with lots of blood and gore and guts and romance and high adventure. So she did that, but she could not damage the name of Louisa May Alcott, which wrote these happy, moral children's stories along with, you know, this like gory sensation novels that were not quite proper. So that's why she wrote those anonymously and under different names, like under pseudonyms. All this to say, some of those moral stories like Little Women, Little Men, Jo's Boys, a lot of her other works, even though they were written to be morals for children, they are still absolute works of art, and I absolutely love them. So I want to share it with all of you if you haven't read it before, or if you want to read it again. I hope you jump on the bandwagon with Kate and I. I have the schedule below in the description, and I'll just briefly go through it with you guys now. Just gotta get my books in order. Okay, so the first book in the read-along is actually not written by Louisa May Alcott, surprisingly. This is the only book on the list that is not written by her, and that is because for Nonfiction November, we are going to read a nonfiction book about Louisa May Alcott. So we have chosen to read Eden's Outcasts by John Matteson. Or Matteson, I don't know. So on the front here, we've got Louisa May Alcott and her father, Bronson Alcott, and I just love this blurb on the back. Listen to this. Louisa May Alcott is known universally, yet during her youth, the famous Alcott was her father, Bronson, eminent teacher and friend of Emerson and Thoreau. He desired perfection for the world and for his family. Louisa challenged him with her mercurial moods and yearnings for money and fame. So I love that this book focuses on a father-daughter relationship because you don't often get books that do that. So I'm really excited to read this. I've heard amazing things about it. It's like really well reviewed by critics and by readers alike. So We would love it if you joined us on this one. This will count for Nonfiction November, and it sounds like it'll be a really entertaining, fun read that will inform her works as we read them. So now, December. As you may know, Little Women begins at Christmas time. So what more perfect book to read at Christmas time than Little Women, the story of Jo, Meg, Amy, and Beth, or Meg, Jo, Beth, and Amy if you want to go in order of age. I love this story, the story of 4 sisters. Now, I should make a point of saying that this includes Good Wives. So outside of North America, it's often published as Little Women and then a separate edition of Good Wives. But in North America, it's published all together as Little Women, and that's what we'll be reading in December. So, Little Women, if you haven't read it, it's time to read it with us. Next, for January, we have the sequel to Little Women, which is Little Men. There we go. So Little Men is about Jo. She opens a school for boys, and this is about those boys that she is teaching, and it's also about her and the other marches, but it's mainly focusing on those students of hers. It's really fun. It's full of madcap adventures, scrapes that they get into, and yeah, it's really awesome. Now for February, we will be reading the next book in the Little Women series, which is Jo's Boys. So this is about the students from Little Men. They're now grown up. And so we still have Jo, we still have the marches, but now we're focusing on her students when they're kind of adult-ish. Now I believe it's this book that has a really funny preface written by Louisa May Alcott. Yes, it is. I just want to read one sentence to you. Okay, I was wrong. The preface that I was thinking is not in Jo's Boys. It must be in one of her other books. But basically what she says is that she's been criticized for how some of the events being not realistic enough, too crazy. And then other moments she's praised for her realism. And she's saying those moments where she was criticized for being so over the top and not realistic at all, she says those are the moments that actually happened in life. And the moments that she is praised for being really realistic, that's what she made up. So I always find that so interesting. Truth is stranger than fiction. So Jo's Boys is really fun. It's really delightful. One of the characters wants to become an actor, and so that's really exciting to read about because I was an actor for a few years. So it's really fun to read about her journey in that, and so much of it is timeless and still applies today. So for March, we will be starting another one of Louisa May Alcott's series, which is 8 Cousins. This is about young Rose. She's adopted by her uncle, and she goes to live near her 7 boy cousins. And I mean, it's great. It's so much fun reading about family. They're all kids in this book, and they each have their own unique little personalities, and it's so much fun. So the sequel to 8 Cousins is Rose and Bloom, and I always thought this cover was so terrible. But now Rose is grown up, and her cousins are grown up, and this book is really good. It tackles some deeper themes like alcoholism and drunk driving, although it was drunk carriage driving because at this point the automobile was not invented. So it's really nice to get some more of that depth in there, and it's also just really entertaining. For May, we will be reading Hospital Sketches. Now, I don't have a physical copy of Hospital Sketches, but I really enjoy it. What Louisa May Alcott does is she was a nurse in So Hospital Sketches is actually one of my favorite works by Louisa May Alcott. She herself was a Civil War nurse, and so what she does is she writes about her experiences in hospital sketches, although she gives the main character a different name. She doesn't say, "This is me." She doesn't come out and say that. She does write in first person, but she calls the main character by a different name, which I can't remember right now, but that's okay because I'm going to be reading it again. So yeah, it's really great. I really do enjoy it. I mean, it's funny because her and her family, they were abolitionists. They were against slavery. They were, very much on the northern side of the war. But you can tell that some of her thoughts are still a little bit like, the racism is still kind of there. It's all well-meaning, but there is still some racism in there, even from abolitionists. In June, we will be reading A Long Fatal Love Chase, one of the sensation stories that was not published under her name during her lifetime. Now, I don't think I've actually read this one. I think this is the one that I haven't read. So I've read lots of her other sensational stories and books, so I'm excited to read this one and see how it goes. And isn't that such a great title, A Long Fatal Love Chase? Like, that's That's an awesome title. In July, we will be reading another one of my favorites. It's called Work, A Story of Experience. And this is mostly based on Louisa May Alcott's experience in different areas where she worked, because obviously, like I said, she had to earn money for her family, so she worked in tons of different areas. So once again, she gives the main character a different name. This time it's Christine, and it's not totally based on her life, but a lot of her experiences in work, that is what she experienced. You know, she was an actor, she was a maid, she was a writer, like all this stuff, she did it herself. So it's really cool to kind of read that as Christine and be like, oh, how much of this did Louisa May Alcott actually experience? Okay, in August, we will be reading An Old-Fashioned Girl. Don't you just love all these vintage editions? I just love them. So An Old-Fashioned Girl is similar to Eight Cousins and Rose and Bloom, except instead of having two books, one about childhood and one about young adulthood, this is all in one book. There's a portion on childhood and a portion on young adulthood, and I really do like it a lot. This is due for a reread for me. I've read Eight Cousins and Rose and Bloom more recently, and it's time for me to read An Old-Fashioned Girl again. It's got great female friendships, a great romance. It's just awesome. There are so many good books on this read-along, guys. I'm so excited to share this with you guys. Now, we will be ending off the year-long, 10-month-long read-along with Under the Lilacs, another cool edition. So Under the Lilacs, sorry, I got an itchy eyelid. So Under the Lilacs is about two young sisters, and they meet a boy who has run away from the circus. And he has a dog with him called Sancho, and it's all about their adventures together. It's really sweet, really heartwarming. I mean, it's definitely a children's book, but it's got some depth to it. So, yeah. So I am, as I've been saying, just thrilled to be doing this, and I'm so honored, Kate Howe. Kate, I don't know why I always call you by your first and last name, but I'm so honored, Kate, that you asked me to do this with you, and yeah, I know we're gonna have so much fun. Now, one other thing I just wanted to add is that our videos will be coming out on the 29th of each month, and Kelly from Books I'm Not Reading, when Kate and her were doing the Betsy Tacy read-along, Kelly had this idea of having the video come out each month on the day of the month that the author was born. So Louisa May Alcott was born November 29th, 1832. So on the 29th of each month, we'll have a video come out on the book that we will have been reading in that month. So there'll also be some other fun Louisa May Alcott themed videos, which I won't give away, but we'll also be having some of those like really just fun kind of videos coming out. But you can expect my video on Eden's Outcasts on November 29th, which is Louisa May Alcott's birthday. I also have another Louisa May Alcott video that I've already done. It's been up for a little while. I'll link it below. It's on my thoughts on the 1994 and 2017 film adaptations of Little Women. So yeah, I guess this is pretty much it. I hope you all join in with us. I know we'll have some great discussions. And so until next time, may you all be filled with peace, hope, love, and joy. So take care, everyone. Bye.